Alright, hi, welcome back. I'm doing this video in the same day I did the recap because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to borrow a camera again. Also, because I think it's more interesting to talk about this. PGL Astana is probably the more interesting event. I probably will end up watching I Am Atlanta because there are some very fun teams there. But I probably will watch both, but I'm probably going to watch most of this with stage of Astana because a lot of teams I really like from like tier 1.5, tier 2 are attending and are going to show some interesting results. So yeah, just gonna get into it. The opening matches have started, so I probably will cover those, but we'll just talk about the teams very quickly, the teams attending first before we get into the conversation. So here are the teams attending. You have Furia, Spirit, Aurora, Falcons, the Mongols, Paravision, Mouse, G2, 9Z, Monte, Heroic, Gentlemates, Fisher College, K27, Magic, and the Huns. Now, of these teams, the one I expect to win this tournament is either Falcons with Karrigan or Spirit. These are two teams I expect to win it. I think every other team are they have chances, but I don't expect them to win it. If you know what I mean, right? Because I think the thing with these two teams is that these two teams are incredibly interesting based on their most recent additions and recent results, right? Rio had Tanier popping off. He was back to the heroic form that I missed and really wanted to see him do in Spirit. It seems like the more loose play style that Sotfik uh, maybe enabled them to play allowed Tanier to flourish a bit more because he was playing more late round. He was taking less openers. And he was closing. He was having a lot of closing and was doing so well in that role. Back to what he was doing in Heroic. So I like that. I think that's a positive. And then Falcons, obviously, with Karrigan. How is Karrigan going to do on Falcons, right? He theoretically has like almost a team comparable to Phase 2018, Phase 2017 with the Super Team. So we're going to see how that's going to do. I imagine it will be good, but it also could be a complete fucking train wreck. So we'll see. But I hope it does go well because I like Karrigan and I like Monte and I like a lot of the players on the team. Patessis, obviously. So we're gonna see. But getting back into the rest, Furia, in my opinion, have completely fallen off. I don't think this team will reinvigorate them. It might reinvigorate Molodoy, but I doubt we're gonna see like any of the others. I feel like Moldoy feels the pressure because of Fallen's retirement to win tournaments for Fallen now because he's going to retire, which I think might be putting undue pressure on him accidentally. On top of that, the sophomore slump I think is a real factor that might actually be impacting his decision making, and on top of that, his overall performance. So we'll have to see. On top of that, Yuri has been dreadful this year. Case Rado is still decent, and or I wouldn't say decent, still good. And Yakindar has fallen off on T side quite a bit, fallen individually, and calling wise has been a bit poor. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make quarters and bail out there, but we'll see. Aurora, still think this team has some of the juice to make a quarters or a semis, maybe even a finals, but I don't rate this team ever winning. I've seen Zantares choke so many semis, so many grand finals. It's not even funny. The guy just falls off in playoffs in a very weird way, very frustrating way that makes it so tilting. Even though I think Wicadia has been very good this year, I think Woxic still an underrated opera in my eyes. I think Woxic is actually unironically a very underrated opera, just off the op, right? Rifle, he's like but op, he's damn good with it. So I think he's been good. And then Soulfly or not, yeah, Soulfly has been actually fairly solid when it comes to individually. I think he's been more consistent than Joda was, right? I think the thing with Soulfly this year is he's been a more consistent anchor lurker. He's a bit more cerebral than Joda was, where Joda I think individually was able to just win rounds because he's so individually talented. I think Soulfly, even though I would say he's less individually talented, he's smarter of a player, which I think is more needed for this team. So I think he's been pretty good. We've already talked about Falcons. We'll talk about Mongols. Mongols without Senzu, I think, has definitely been worse, but I still like Cobra Zera. I think Cobra Zera is uh, a very good pickup if you're going to try and replace Senzu, because I think Cobra Zera Cobra Zera does have some incredibly raw aim, like incredible raw aim. I think he has actually maybe better raw aim than Senzu, but I think Senzu is just a better individual, if that makes sense. I think some people will understand what I'm saying, but Senju is able to sometimes hold map space that he has no fucking business holding, or get kills through like smokes in ways that Cobra Zera is just not able to, because Senju has a weird innate instinct for the game that Cobra Zera just doesn't have. Where I think Cobra Zera, I think, relies more on his aim, and sometimes, because this is his first time playing in Tier 1, right? Because he was on the Huns, I think. Um, Before this, he hasn't really developed that style yet. Paravision are a team that kind of expected. I expected them to fall off at some point this year. I think the individuals have been really poor. Noda and Gilo, I know they're the hard entries of the team, but they're disappointing compared to what I saw in Tier 2 with them. Gilo and Noda were both players I rated when they were in Tier 2 because they were very good. And you saw how much they were able to individually output, but against Tier 1 teams, don't think they were able to do anything. Again, a lot of credit has to go to Jame and Dastan, who I think have been calling far above what they should be calling. So I imagine they'll maybe make a semis, maybe make a finals. We'll have to see, but I don't think they're gonna win this event. I think the other two are just better, but who knows? Maybe I'm just wrong and they just win the event. Mouse, they made their roster change very recently with adding JL and Zelix. Zelix is a tier 2 player I've rated for quite a while, especially when he was on Mouse NXT. I watched him. The guy is sort of like Spinks. He's a bit passive. Like somebody compared him to Blame F, and the more I think about it, it's actually pretty true. He's more of a late round. Like he plays like map control positions, but then he plays like late round. He doesn't go first though, right? He's not sacrificing and going first. He's very clearly the star of his team, and they set him up to close rounds, to play the late round, to trade. Um, he throws more utility on T side. I think he throws like an absurd amount of utility on T side. So they really do set him up to be the star of the show, and he is very good. But I think the problem that Mauser are going to have is that when you have Spinks and Zelix, you don't have any space for people like JL or Zershin. Those guys don't have space. So those guys are going first, and they're dying for this team, essentially. JL, I don't think is a bad pickup, but I'm not really used to the idea of him replacing Jimmy. I don't think it's a good idea because I think JL is not a hard support. He's also a closer, similar to Sphinx. So we're going to have to see how this roster does. Zershin IGLing, I think, will be interesting. We'll be able to garner whether or not he should, but in my opinion, he's still individually a decent player, even though I've been critical of him, but I don't think they've used him very well in this team. Because he's going for an absurd amount of openers. Absurd. And he's also a playoff dropper by quite a bit. G2, I think this team could be the top 8 team. I still need to see a bit more from Nerds. I think Sampaias has shown quite a bit. Heavy God, still Heavy God. And then Mattis, I still rate. I still think he's a borderline top 20 player. He's a very good player. He's so fun to watch. I love this guy. I loved him even when he was in Fnatic with Blame F. That team was Mattis and Blame F against the world, essentially. So this G2 roster, I still have a soft spot for because I like all these players. Hunter as an IGL hasn't really impressed me. They're very one dynamic. I think they call too many pop plays. They call too many too many set plays, and they don't know how to play the mid round. Sometimes they lose um, some very questionable rounds, and sometimes it does look like the mental does break on this team a bit. But I don't think they're a bad team. I still need to see a bit more. I think we just need to see Nerds get implemented into Saw's system and back into the squad, and then I think we'll see more from Nerds. Because I think Nerds has been good, but he hasn't been amazing. 9Z, Max, DGT, Mjorn, Luchov, Huaso Peak. Huaso Peak I've heard about as a prospect for a bit, and he definitely has the raw aim that I would want from a prospect. I don't watch a lot of 9Z if I'm being completely honest, but I still rate some of the pieces. I still think DGT and Huaso Peak are pretty good. So I expect them to probably make like a 2-3 Swiss stage thing, maybe make playoffs. We'll have to see. If any of these top teams drop below what's expected, if any of these top teams drop below what they should be performing, then we might see a 9Z or a Monte slip into the playoffs, which I would like. Monte, I fucking love this team. Rainwaker, Bemis, Afro gives me Azulu. Azulu, I still think is the most disappointing part about this team, but I think Afro has been incredible. I said it earlier, he is a top 10 opper, not on a top 10 team. That is a wild statement considering what he was in Fnatic, but he has improved so much since then. He was the MVP, my opinion, the MVP of CCT Global Finals, recent tournament they played at against NIP uh, and Heroic, where they won fairly convincingly. Rainwaker, incredible T side lurker slash CT side anchor. He's one of the best in the world in that tier 1.5, tier 2 space. He is very cerebral, very good spray transfers, or a spray, not just transfers, but spray in general. Bemis has been a little lackluster compared to what I expect from Bemis. I actually think Bemis is a lot better than what he's been showing this year. In 2025, he was pretty decent. He had like a 1.07. I think this year he's a 1.02. He's not a bad player, Bemis, this year, but he hasn't been as reliable as like because he has this like really gross looking spray transfer that's like robotic, but it's also like so clunky because he like grips his mouse as hard as he can while doing it, and he plays on like high sense, so it looks really gross when he does it. But it's sometimes beautiful to watch, and I need to see more of that Bemis. I need to see more consistency. Some of the games he just goes missing or he just doesn't deliver. Could be nerves, could be playing against better opposition that's causing it. But I want to see Bemis do well again because I think he was good on Monte in 2025. Um, Heroic, another team that is rather interesting that I've been following. Nilo, I think, has been pretty convincingly to start. I think Youngster was really poor at the CCT they played. They played CCT Global Finals. I think Youngster was fairly disappointing as an opper because I think he was delivering. I think Youngster as an opper was unironically delivering above expectations for a hobby opper, right? Like he wasn't actually Youngster is not an opper. He's an anchor. He's a rifler, right? But he was improving as an opper and he was getting better and better. But then CCT, he just got diffed by Afro. It just wasn't even close. And on top of that, just the entire tournament, he underperformed. xCloud, in my opinion, has been kind of what he was, but better. xCloud has this weird thing where, like, he has one pop-off game and then two whatever games. Nowadays, he's doing two great games and one bad game. And in my opinion, that rate and consistency is like enough to make Heroic actually really good if they can continue. You just need some of the other pieces to step up when he has those bad games. Because when xCloud is on, he's very incredible. He's so electric for this team. He gives T sides so much strength, and on CT side, he's just fearless, right? He just takes duels. So I think xCloud has been rather good. Susp has been better. I think when he first joined this roster, it was a bit rough, but he's been getting better. And then Krisen, IGLing wise, he's been fairly solid. I think he's a very good young prospect IGL, similar to Gizmy, who I didn't talk about. But both these IGLs I rate incredibly, quite a lot. I think Gizmy has shown more against better opposition, but I think Krisen has been pretty good. So yeah, Gentlemates, this team has been on kind of a downward spiral since they didn't make the major. I feel like when you watch this team about at the start of this year, I think they were fairly solid. It actually looked like they were going to make the major. And then when they didn't, I think because of stake ranked, I think they played stake ranked and they didn't make it. They also had some disappointing losses to some fucking really low teams that tanked their VRS. So they didn't make it. And then since Rio, I think they've just been bad. I think they've been getting worse and worse and worse. They just lost to Magic in the stake ranked second close qualifiers. We'll talk about Magic later. I'm really excited about Magic. I really like Magic. But Gentlemates are not bad. For a fully national team, I think they're fairly solid. I think Martina Saw is actually an upper that that teams could maybe even use as an upgrade for their solutions, right? I was even thinking about Martina Saw to phase for quite a while because I think Martina Saw was actually showing quite a bit, but maybe he doesn't want to play on an international team. Maybe he would be worse on an international team. You never know. Um, because I'm pretty sure when he played on 90, he just didn't perform the same. But with Alex, he seems to perform quite a lot. He plays like a true star. That's why I really like him. And the rest of the riflers, I think, are decent, but not insane. They're just good riflers. They're solid role players. They all do a bit of They kind of just fill in the gaps. It's really Alex and Martina Sa that are the talking points. The rest of them are kind of whatever to me. They have their maps, they have their good days, but Martina Sa and Alex are the two pieces I rate. I think Alex's calling is actually pretty solid. Fisher College, I have no fucking clue. I have not watched his team. I haven't seen his team. I saw Nealon was standing in for this squad. Apparently, he's played with these guys on EG. He was a IGL that people rated, I think, in 2023 on EG. They were saying he was going to be the next up and coming IGL. He never became that. Not even fucking close. He was completely overrated. But I have no idea how to rate this team. I haven't watched them. I've never seen them. I know they won the qualifier for North America, and that's it. So yeah, KH7 is a fun team. So there's two Russian teams, or CIS teams, I should say, in this thing. K27 and Magic. I like Magic more, but we'll talk about K27 first. K27 is a very interesting team with two very good prospects. They have Jito and Cashlid. Jito is this cracked entry fragger that has been making quite a name. I think Donk put him as his prospect of the year last year. And then you have Cashlid, who is an up-and-coming opper who has been pretty good. This year he's been a little more quiet, but he was making a name for himself last year a bit. And of course, my fucking Wi-Fi is not working. Great, awesome, Pog. There we go. 2026. So yeah, this year he's been a little worse, but I'm pretty sure if you check 2025, he was pretty good in 2025, right? Now again, he's versing better opposition, and I think he's been missing a bit more. I think that sometimes with Cashlid, Cashlid is a bit of an opper who kind of he has some incredible flicks, he has some bad flicks. He's like kind of a middle ground sometimes. But for the most part, he's fairly solid in the clutch, good rifle. Um, I'm overall fairly convinced by him as an opper and as a prospect. I was even saying FaZe should maybe consider giving him a try if they don't want to get Klim, or if G2 are not willing to part with Klim or MIBR, right? If you don't have the money for that, get Cashlid, see if he wants to join. But again, Russian, doesn't speak any English, I imagine, or not much English. So yeah, and then Jito was another prospect who I really rate. These guys are the two most worth talking about because this is a rather young squad and they're the best prospects of the bunch. I think Jito is incredibly interesting. He is a star player through and through. He plays a lot of the star spots. He is individually very good. He's not a stupid player, which is kind of does matter, but because with CIS players, sometimes they rely so much on individual brilliance that they kind of throw rounds sometimes. He does do that, but it's less. For the most part, he's fairly consistent. He trades a lot. He's usually second guy in or first guy in on bomb site execs. And he's the opener of the team. And I think these two are two to keep your eye out on for this tournament because I think this will tell you whether they're ready for tier 1.5, tier 2, like top of tier 2, tier 1.5 going forward, right? And if teams should take a gamble on them. There's obviously other people like Quinky on the team. Quinky is pretty solid. He's individually very good, but he plays a lot of like the anchor spots, like slash like secondary opener positions. Sometimes he's usually the guy going in, and then obviously they have Fame. I forgot to mention this. Relaxy was the player who was on this team, but they picked up Fame instead to stand in. Fame, who was on VP, I feel like he fits in for Relaxy spots pretty one-to-one because Fame is a relatively versatile, flexible rifler that you can put into a lot of positions. He's a role player, right? Where I think Flit was always more of the star. Fame was a very solid, all-around Swiss Army knife that you could kind of use, however. Even though I don't think Fame wants to be used that way, that's how he's going to be used. So I think this team, it will be interesting, but the team I rate more is Magic. I love this fucking team. Every time there is a tier 2 match, I watch this team. Now there's two reasons, and it's also two prospects I rate. It is Masvel and Tenzi. Obviously I like AW as well. When he was on Paravision and Amcal, I thought he was good. But these two are really exciting. Tenzi came from Batera before he joined Magic, and Masvel, I don't know where he was. I think he was also on Batera, but we can check. So if we go 2026, the stats, obviously I'm just showing stats. He was also on Batera with Tenzi. Both these guys are pretty young. Tenzi is 21, Masvel is 23. And they're both very interesting. So Tenzi is a pure star player. He is a He is your aggressive star entry or opener slash playmaker. He does a lot of opening. One map I rate him really highly on is Ancient. I think he's really good on Ancient, but he also does play some anchor spots on CT side. I think on Mirage, for example, S Fade 8, who is their not coach, IGL plays connector and AW plays cat, and Tenzi plays A anchor actually, and Masvel plays B anchor, which is a bit interesting. But Tenzi is a player I rate a lot. He's actually fairly well versed. He knows how to play clutches. He's smart. He's actually cerebral, which is something you don't always see from CIS players, but he's actually rather smart. Mechanically, he's so solid. He hits headshots like crazy. 60% headshot rate. Like, look at this shit. 60%, right? Absurd. Uh, like, that's not demon level, but that is really high 60%. And the guy multi-kills, he's just very solid all around. And then you have Masval, who's more of this passive anchor lurker type, but he's really good at it. Like, he's really solid, he's really consistent. The guy plays on some absurd EDPI. He plays on like 1700 EDPI. I checked it recently. Wild that he plays on that. But he is unbelievably solid and reliable. He's very passive. He doesn't like to go first, and he doesn't like to make plays, but he is very reliable in his roles and positions. So I am watching these two this tournament. Now they have other interesting pieces like AW and Moon, and I think S8 is actually a decent caller. I think some people flame this guy a lot. I don't think he's actually that bad, S8. But AW and Moon are interesting. Moon is like a hyper aggressive opper. He goes for a lot of openers, like a lot. He has like 30% CT side opener rate on as an opper, which I think is way too much. He should lower it. But he is hitting shots. He's sometimes inconsistent, but I think he's solid. AW, he's kind of the supportive piece, but he's not really. He does some opening, he does some trading. I've seen him. He plays some star spots. He plays some anchor spots. Like, he's a bit of a mixed player. I don't know how to really rate AW, but he's not bad. He's actually a fairly solid player. I think a lot of people remember his time on Paravision. A lot of people who watched him at the major said, like, AW was fine. He should have saved for his way. Obviously, I think most people in retrospect look at that fucking take and are like, what are you talking about? Like, his way should have 100% replaced AW. Because even though AW is a good player, his way is still a better player. Mechanically and, like, cerebrally, like, how he reads the game's way, he just has more experience and he's better. So I think AW on this team has actually been fairly good, but Tenzi and Maswell are their stars. Keep an eye out for them. I'm going to be watching Magic's games very closely because I like both Tenzi and Masvel, and I think they should go to better teams, but we'll see. If Magic keeps working out, maybe they don't have to. Maybe they'll play tier 1.5 events soon. And then the Huns, I don't even know what to talk about. I don't watch Mongolian CS, so I'm not going to even talk about them. This has been 23 minutes. Holy shit. So I'm going to just give predictions for opening matches, and then we're going to call it. Aurora versus Heroic. Actually, we just do. Do I want to do the simulator? Fuck it. We'll do simulator. Fuck it. All right. Who is going to win the first thing? All right. Pearson probably wins that. Furia have been looking shaky. Hold on. Hold on. Dude, I'm so biased. Okay, no, we can't do this because I'm just biased. This is just bias. No. We're not doing this. I changed my mind. We're not doing this. I'm just going to be biased towards Magic and Monte for most of the fucking time. So we're not going to do that. That's a waste of time. But anyway, on opening matches, I imagine Aurora should be Heroic. G2 should be Fisher College very convincingly. Mel's, I think, just have the better individuals, but because of how the team is, Zershin picking up IGLing, I wouldn't be surprised if General Mates either make it close or win. So we'll have to see, but I think the individuals on Mel's are just so much better. Mongols versus Magic. I'm biased, so I'm saying Magic. But Magic are not going to win. They're not going to win. They shouldn't win. If they do win, it's a crazy upset. They should not win this. But I'm rooting for my boys at Magic. Falcons versus K27. Falcons should win. Individuals are just way better. More tier 1 experience. Doesn't even matter if Karrigan is a train wreck as a caller on this team, even though I don't think that's true. But let's say hypothetically he is. Still should close it, but just based off firepower. Spirit Huns, Spirit Easy. It's not even close. And then Fury and Monte. Fury and Monte are really interesting because Fury has been going down and Monte have been going up. And arguably, if I'm taking offers right now, Mulador or Afro, I'm taking Afro. Like, not even joking. I'm dead serious. I would take Afro today. Not like I would take Afro's performance today than Mulador's, if that makes sense. So that might sound fucking wild, but I have a lot of faith in this team because I think they are incredible at upset victories, and Gizmy is really good at prepping for matches and anti-stratting the opponent. He did it with Navi back at Blast, uh, and he's played some really close maps against Navi. And Navi are known for prep and anti-stratting, right? So if a IGL like that can do that to Navi, a team who, in my opinion, is much more structured than Furia, I think he can I think he might be able to push it over the line with the prep and the anti-strat. We just need Afro and Rainwaker firing, and we I'm on Monte, guys. And then Paravision 9Z. I imagine Paravision will win, but 9Z they've been doing well in South American domestic leagues. I don't watch a lot of 9Z, but I've watched a bit of them. They're a pretty good team. I think their calling solid, but it's more about the individuals. I feel like DGT, Huaso Peak. I think Mieren's been pretty good, and Lukov. I think that's how you pronounce it, Lukov, not Luchov. So yeah, we'll have to see. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know who you're rooting for at the team or at this event. I'm obviously going to be watching it because I'm a CS nerd. I'm a somebody with a lot of time. I just want to watch it. I just want to watch CS, you know. So I'm going to be watching it. I'm obviously going to be rooting for Magic Monte. To me, I'm a big fan of Tier 2, Tier 1.5 teams. Teams that don't have that like elite level players, but have like good players who are interesting and fun to talk about. I much prefer those teams to teams like Falcons or Vitality. I feel like some people will understand that. Some people will be like, why don't you like watching the best CS? Because watching the best CS to me, like Tier 1 CS, it's fun, but I like interesting teams. I like teams where players are on like a redemption arc. Like Rainwaker. Rainwaker's a really interesting one because like we're getting into a side tangent, but we'll do it anyway. Rainwaker, when he was on Liquid, his time does not count in my opinion because when you look at what Rainwaker became after Liquid, and on top of that, Liquid just used Rainmaker horribly. Like, I'm just gonna say, they used him fucking awfully. They put him in the most bitch support roles ever, and gave him none of his T-side star or T-side lurk roles, and he didn't get a lot of good anchor positions either. They just put him in bitch roles, and they're like, all right, man, perform. And it's like, he's Bulgarian. He never played in an international team before, and you're just expecting this guy to perform. It's like he's not going to perform. You have to give him time, right? They didn't let him acclimate to Tier 1 at all. And obviously, Rainwaker could have performed better, but I think that's what we're seeing on Monte. Monte has given Rainwaker the potential to be a T-side star and to be a solid anchor player, and he's been that. He's been incredible. And in my opinion, those stories are so much more interesting. So I'm obviously rooting for the boys at Monte. They're kind of an underdog story. They're kind of my modern day Gamer Legion, even though I still root for Gamer Legion and still pull for those guys like Rez and PR and Towson, even Snacks to some extent, and Hypex, who I saw in BetClick. I love these teams. Magic and Monte, I will be watching this event very closely, and I'll be fucking. I will if Tenzi performs at this thing. Maybe I just make a video glazing Tenzi because this guy and do an actual demo review because this guy is really good. He's really talented. Same thing with Maswell as well. They're both good. I'm just sorry. I'm a nerd about CS. So later, let me know which teams you guys are rooting for and what you guys want to see on the thing. I'll probably make an IEM Atlanta one pretty soon. I'll have to see. Thank you for watching.